Hey guys, Cam here from Pocket-lint, and earlier in the year when the Galaxy S20 came out we compared it to the then most popular iPhone, the iPhone 11. And now there's a new Apple phone in town, and it's probably going to be the most popular phone of the next 12 months. So exactly how does it compare to Samsung's popular phone, the Galaxy S20? Now, as always with any of our comparisons, the aim is to try and help you decide which one suits you the most. Whether you prefer the best camera system, the best display, or just all-round good performance. So let's just dive straight in. And first up, it's design. Now, it's in the design department that you'll notice the strongest differences between the two phones, because as we go down the list of specs, you'll notice there are a lot of similarities. Still, when it comes to aesthetics, it's hard to imagine them being any more different. Apple has gone with clean lines and straight edges this year. That gives it this purposeful, even and precise look, which I like a lot. It's similar to the iPad Air and the iPad Pro. It's a look we haven't seen on the iPhone since the 5S, or the SE, which was a rebooted version of the 5S. Even looking at the skinny bezels all the way around the display, it's all the same thickness all the way around, and the display corner curvature matches the curvature of the metal edges on the outside. But then of course there is a notch at the top, which we'll accept for the added convenience of Face ID for things like authenticating payments and unlocking the phone really quickly. Samsung's phone is narrower, and its bezels are skinnier, and the curved glass on the sides helps it feel more compact than it is. And while not as even all the way around as the iPhone, the screen bezels being so skinny means the display just takes up the entire space on the front, with the only interruption being a tiny selfie camera cut out near the top, which you barely notice. Materials are the same on both. They're glass on the front and back with metal around the side. Samsung went for a polished finish on this metal, with Apple going for a softer anodized finish. Now, Apple's attention to detail on design is apparent around the camera housing, with each of the two cameras surrounded by a metal ring and the glass square blending seamlessly into the rear panel. Samsung's camera protrusion seems like a basic rectangle just stuck in the corner, by comparison. Still, both phones have their appeal here. So for you it might come down to whether you like the clean, defined lines of the iPhone, or if you like the curvature and the palm-friendly finish of the Samsung. Now, when it comes to displays, each has its advantages. But the short version of this section is that they're both great. Both are OLED based, and so they're bright and vivid and have really deep blacks. Samsung's measures slightly bigger diagonally, but they're so similar in size that shouldn't really be a deciding factor. Watch videos side by side and you'll see some differences, at least in Samsung's default mode, which is vivid. Apple's display seems to be tuned to a more natural look by default, while Samsung increases the contrast and saturation, which comes off a tiny bit unnatural at times, while Apple's does seem a tiny bit soft. However, you can switch the Samsung display into natural mode, and then it becomes almost impossible to tell them apart. Except Samsung's is slightly sharper when you enable QHD resolution. If you're all about super smooth frame rates though, you can switch Samsung's up to 120Hz, but then you reduce the sharpness down to Full HD. Apple's resolution isn't a standard one, it sits somewhere between the standard QHD and Full HD, but with 460 pixels per inch, it's plenty sharp enough. Both support HDR10, Apple even supports Dolby Vision too, so for HDR versatility, iPhone is the way to go. But for general video watching, photos and such, we think you'll be happy with either phone. For faster refresh rates and a more expansive look, Samsung is the one to go for. Now, whichever of these phones you decide to go for, you're getting a fast phone. Apple's A14 Bionic is one of the most powerful processors launched on a phone to date, and the chip in the Samsung is no slouch either. Which processor you get will be determined by where you're buying it. This unit has an Exynos-based processor, whereas others use Snapdragon 865s. The former tends to run quite warm when you start using it, and that's something you'll notice when you play games. Still, whatever games you might like, you'll find each phone tackles them easily, offering a smooth and mostly lag-free experience. Now, battery life isn't far off being the same for both, but that depends on your own personal usage. In my experience, the iPhone seems to be more efficient than the S20. They can both easily get through a day, so that's no worry, but I found that I'd maybe have 10% more left over on the iPhone with my own typical usage. Again, that's probably different if you choose the Snapdragon-based S20. What's more, both support wireless and wired charging to similar speeds. Samsung and Apple offer wireless charging up to 15 watts. The iPhone supports 20 watts wired, while Samsung supports 25 watts. The difference here though is that Apple doesn't supply you that 20-watt charger in the box. You'd have to buy it separately. Now, cameras overall, we think Samsung has the strongest system here in some ways. It offers 3 cameras, so you get wide, ultra-wide and 3x zoom cameras, which are so useful to have. With iPhone you get the wide and ultra wide, but where it's stronger is that the results between those two cameras seem a bit more consistent. Samsung's ultra wide camera seems to lose some of the colours and add a little bit more contrast compared to the primary one, but there's really not a lot in it. In truth, they can both take great photos, and actually for me personally, having that third zoom camera makes it a lot more useful. Both phones can shoot HDR, iPhone includes Dolby Vision, and both also include 4K up to 60 frames per second. Now overall, both of these phones have a strong ecosystem of additional services and devices like Apple Pay or Samsung Pay, AirPods, Galaxy Buds, Apple Watch or Galaxy Watch, and smart home control apps. With Apple though, you get software updates and security patches as soon as they're available, and your device is supported for a lot longer than Samsung typically offers. Plus Samsung updates tend to land later, so you might not get any essential security patches or major software updates as soon as they're available on other manufacturers, for instance. Price-wise, now that the S20 is a bit older, you might find it cheaper than the iPhone, so that's something worth considering. So overall, both phones are strong, and I'd be perfectly happy with either. Personally, I really like the new iPhone design, and that's a big part of the appeal for me, as is the ease of use of Apple Pay and having a great video camera. For Samsung, I love having that zoom camera, and I like the display has skinny bezels and a tiny little hole punch camera not taking any space in the display. But in all the ways that matter, they both perform really well. I've been Cam, I'm at Cam Bunton on social media. You can follow me on there or comment below. You can hit that thumbs up if you like this video, and if you don't want to miss any more of our videos, hit subscribe. I'll catch you in the next one.